Watching RT next, we ask one outspoken British journalist why he thinks the country got involved in Libya and whether it should have done so in the first place.
Today I'm talking to Kelvin Mackenzie, former editor of The Sun newspaper and columnist. He's spoken out against the military intervention in Libya, saying that Libya is not worth an ounce of British blood. Kelvin Mackenzie, that's a very strong position to take. I mean, the government reckons that airstrikes prevented a massacre in Benghazi. Surely that's worth a few British bombs and sorties.
Well, first of all, we don't know whether there was going to be a massacre at Benghazi. This was the PR, this was the government's push, this was Cameron's personal spin. In the end of the day, though, this is Libyans fighting Libyans. And who are we to say who should be running their country? After all, when I last looked, I didn't notice any of the Libyans interfere when the Cavaliers and the Roundheads took place in our revolution, or there, as far as I could see, there was nobody from Tripoli wandering around in the French Revolution. This is a revolution quite normal. The other side have got guns. Mysteriously, they seem to have rocket-propelled grenades. They seem to have anti-aircraft fire ability, although I feel very unsure about what our relationship with Libya is going to be at the end of all this. We have Al-Qaeda wandering around. How do we know that at the end of the day that they don't end up running the damn country? We don't know anything about this.
But Libyan rebels did ask us to intervene. They asked NATO to intervene. Do we not therefore have a duty to go in and help them out?
No, we don't. What duty do we owe? We have no duty. Why are we out there wandering around the desert? There's no justification. I prefer the Russian position. I prefer the Chinese position. I prefer the German position. All of which is the same, is we wish you well and we're not firing any guns and we're not sending in any planes.
What now then? Is your solution that we pull out and leave the Libyans to what could essentially be a bloody civil war?
It is a bloody civil war. That's what happens in civil wars. There isn't the point. The reason that they have the word war involved in civil war is it's not called civil negotiation. It is a fight. And in the end, I expect the rebels may well win. But they don't need to win risking our blood and our money. Well, first of all, I don't care about the international community. Why don't they go in, while you're at Libya, just go down the road a bit to the Congo, where literally 800,000 people have been wiped out. Why haven't we gone there? Why don't we go and protect the minority tribe in Zimbabwe while we're at it? There's a lot of injustice in the world. There may be injustice even in this country, right? Who knows? But the issue is that there is nothing that can be done. The international community is a big fat raspberry. And what happens to the politicians is that they look round at themselves, they look at their ratings in the polls and they say, do you know what? I'm not doing very well here. The people who vote for me think I'm an idiot. They're going to chuck me out. I'll tell you what I'll do. Why don't I wander around North Africa, wander around the Middle East? Why don't we go into Saudi Arabia, where they've banned marches and the king has announced there will be severe repercussion for demonstrations, and in the east they started firing at everybody. Why don't we go into the Yemen? Why don't we go in everywhere?
Well, what's your answer to all those questions? Why don't we go into Yemen? Why don't we go into Syria?
Because it's nothing to do with us. We have neither the power, the firepower, nor the will, nor, as we learned from Iraq, where 180 of our good people died and probably 40 or 50 billion quid went out of our coffers, which we could possibly even fill our potholes up with today, right? It has nothing to do with us. Things take time.
And yet we have still gone into Libya, which by your logic also has nothing to do with us. Is it because we've got a bee in our bonnet about Gaddafi?
Do you know what it is? We're a warrior nation trying to relive old days of the empire, with Cameron keep on shouting out, where have all the pink bits gone, you know? Strolling around the Middle East, you know, without a sat-nav, without an exit plan. We know how to go into these places. We have no idea how to get out. We don't have to support idiots like Cameron, right? We've got nothing else to do. We can't decide whether he should be wandering around a hospital in the UK or should be wandering around the battlefields of the Middle East.
Politically, what does someone like David Cameron gain from waging a war in Africa?
I've no idea what Cameron saw, what was in it for him or for our country. he is, unfortunately, a professional bleeding heart. And so he is one of those guys who will rush around endlessly. He's a total political animal, by the way. Rush around endlessly saying something must be done. The answer is something mustn't be done. It's like when you're about to send off a really stinking email on the night before to your boss, right? Don't send that email. Go to bed, wake up in the morning, reread it and decide whether it was a good idea or not. Cameron hasn't got that ability. Basically, I think he's gone mad. But he's gone mad very early. He's only been in power a year. How balmy is he going to be if he lasts as long as Blair? Blair was certifiable at the end of it all, right? But my suspicion is that the pressure has just driven him balmy.
Kelvin Mackenzie, thank you very much.